All right, we are back live once again. Sorry for any of the live viewers. We had some technical difficulties. And yeah, it's one of those things that just you love about technology today where you've got the entire day from the time you wake up until 5 minutes after you start your only show of the day. And the only time you get a blip where your internet goes down for 2 minutes is, yeah, that first 5 minutes where you started the show. That's just great. Anyway, we're back and let's get right back to it. All right, so we're going to start all over again for anybody who is just watching our show on demand, or if you are checking in now live in any way, shape, or form, anywhere out there in the stratosphere of the internet. Okay, so let's get right to it as we are taking a look at the race at Watkins Glen. And what we're going to be doing is, and what we do every week at this time, is take a look at practice and qualifying speeds. We go over the trends that we talked about earlier in the week on our Tuesday show. We had a show this week earlier, which was on Wednesday this week. We're back to Tuesday next week. We're actually going to do an early preview of the Coke 600, which will be the following week. But CJ, our main analyst from rotowire.com, is going to be leaving. He's going on vacation. So we're going to early preview for the Coke 600 upcoming on Tuesday afternoon. We'll also take an early look at the Indianapolis 500 on that show as well. So that's when we normally do our shows. You can check out the link in the description of this video right now, and you can go on over to that show whenever you like. And CJ and I go over a lot more than I get the opportunity to go over here today. But of course, what we try to do here every Saturday is take a look at the speed charts and go over the history of qualifying and practice for all the tracks and exactly how it all correlates into a handicapping plan. And that's what we're going to do here as usual. Now, let's first of all take a look at the surprising results today with Shane Van Gisbergen on the pole. And so it is kind of interesting, though, because what we talked about on Tuesday, one of the trends, remember, there has not been a pole. We've had one pole sitter win at Watkins Glen since 2009. One. How strange is that? Especially considering, now get this, in next gen, in the 4 years where they've had races at Watkins Glen, the winning driver started second 3 times. There was only one race that the winning driver did not start second. Well, that was a crazy race. That was when Chris Buescher won a fuel mileage race in 2024. He was way back. He started 24th. And so he stole the race. Who did he steal it from? Shane Van Gisbergen. And Shane Van Gisbergen, I believe, where was he? He was third. So he would have started third. So it really should have been second, third, second in next gen starting position. Still no pole sitter. So Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG, is going to try to do something that's only been done once at Watkins Glen since 2009, and that is win from the pole. All right. So again, big surprise. But what it does is it definitely brings the odds further down. So I certainly hope you had the opportunity to wager on Shane Van Gisbergen earlier this week at plus 125, I believe it was. And we had one of our viewers that did a great job in pointing it out. You can see in the comment section of our show on Wednesday that is basically, I mean, did you really have to do a show this week and spend, 45 minutes previewing a show when Shane Van Gisbergen is in the race in a road course? Yeah, I mean, we do, because as you see what happened at Texas this year, he didn't win. But again, then it was Tyler Reddick and he was red hot and he was on the pole and he dominated, won the race. Well, unfortunately for all the drivers here at Watkins Glen, it doesn't look like there's one of those drivers because Shane's on the pole. And that is that's a bad sign for everyone else. We'll get to the practice speeds in a little bit. But if you take a look now at some of the other stories here for the top 10, Mike McDowell, not a surprise, he's up there in second. Ross Chastain, did we have? Yeah, he was my long shot play, my official long shot play on Wednesday. So very happy to see him in fourth. There's Connor Zilic. He's the second choice. And then you've got Blaney. Did we take Blaney? Yes. CJ has Blaney as his second pick. So he's in a good position. Christopher Bell, that is CJ's top pick because I went first with the picks this week. And obviously I took SVG. So that's good. And then Briscoe and Gibbs, a couple of Toyotas, round out the top 10. Here are the rest. Here's the rest of the board here. Hocevar looks like he's going to be in contention. AJ's in a decent spot. Busher is definitely one that we want to be keeping an eye on. Reddick, a disappointing 15th. So even though I think he's still the third choice. Let's see. Bubba was an intriguing long shot. Matter of fact, that's CJ's official long shot from Wednesday's show, but not where you wanted him to start off, that's for sure. Denny Hamlin in his usual spot here. Check out Denny Hamlin. I mean, at Watkins Glen, Denny Hamlin, when he starts in this position, he knows it's going to be a long day on Sunday. Check this out. In the next gen, in 3 of his 4 starts, he started 22nd. Okay, so he started 22nd, 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 and tomorrow he's going to start 20th. Well, what was his finishes? 20th, 23rd, and 25th. What kind of a boring weekend was that for Denny Hamlin? Well, it's going to happen again. The only time that he did not start way back, he started actually second in 2023. Excuse me, he started on the pole in 2023, and he finished second. Yeah. So not going to happen on Sunday, though. Okay. And then Kyle Larson, very disappointing 23rd. Chase Elliott, very disappointing 27th. He was my second choice this week. So that's pretty much down the drain. And there you go. That is what's going on for qualifying. Now, let's take a look at the practice speeds. And Austin Cindric. You know, this is one of the situations, too, where there was no Group 1, no Group 2. It was just everybody was out there. So kind of surprising to see Cindric the fastest out there. But in a way, we've actually been surprised that Austin Cindric hasn't been better at Watkins Glen. Cindric is a good road course driver. He's proven that over his career. And yet, especially in the O'Reilly series, he hasn't translated that as much in the Cup series. But, you know, if you can handle road courses in the O'Reilly series, then you could do it in the Cup series. It's just a matter of equipment and experience. And maybe this is going to be a good starting spot for Austin. Not that he hasn't had good results before as far as his road course career. Matter of fact, let me see. Let me see what I've got for Austin Cindric road course records. Let's see. Cindric he's got 7 career top 10s, 3 top 5s. He was runner-up in Indianapolis out of 20 races, I think, or 21. I didn't do this year. I didn't do this year's race, though. And in the Xfinity series, get this. Well, O'Reilly series. 9 top 10s out of 10 races. 8 of those top 5s. A runner-up and 2 wins. He won Watkins Glen. And he also won Indianapolis. So that's how good Austin Cindric is on a road course. And so he's got the Watkins Glen win in the O'Reilly series. And now he's in a really good position here with the fastest car in practice. Hocevar, good run. Good day for Hocevar. Good day for Gibbs. Good day for Bell. Busher, we'll talk about a little bit. Kyle got off to a good start. Did not finish the day well in qualifying, though. AJ had a solid day. Nothing great, but he's in it. Reddick, he was not as fast in qualifying, so that was disappointing. McDowell's, look, Shane and McDowell, they're on the front row, and they're 11th and 12th in practice. So I don't think it's going to mean anything. But you're always looking for something, and we're going to get into the trends in just a little bit. That's again, unless you're taking Shane, you're going to look for anything that says, do we have hope to beat him? There's Blaney, who was faster in qualifying. Let's see, anybody else? Briscoe was slower. He was fast. Zillage slower. Elliott had a bad day, as I mentioned. Logano nowhere near as fast as he was in qualifying. Larson had a bad day, and there you go. So that is what happened in practice. Okay, now let's put out the odds. Now this really was crazy. Okay, so I was putting together the report like I always do. I put the report together, looking at the odds, and I didn't like go over the odds first and I'm going to place my bet or anything because I already have my bets from Wednesday, and I did not really expect anything crazy, and I don't normally. I usually, if I place bets, I wait usually until after the show, and then I'll place the bets, or I sometimes I'll even wait till race day to place my secondary bets after earlier in the week. So anyway, I'm going over the reports, and I'm realizing, wait a second, what is Austin Cindric doing at 100-1? How? Huh? So anyway, I just finished the report, put the templates up, and now before I'm going to close the sportsbook page, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put a couple of bucks on Austin Cindric here. I'm going to put at least a buck on him. Let me just put a buck on him because I usually invest between 50 and 100 bucks a week on my NASCAR. That's it. So I was like, you know what? Let me just put a buck on it because it's got to go down. But so let me just get a buck in it, and I'll just come back later and I'll see where it is later. Probably 50-1, and I'll come back and I'll and if I have more money, I'll put more money on it. So boom, dollar, accept. And then it refreshes 25-1. I don't know what they were doing, but and so I was like, I thought they didn't take my bet. I actually thought, no, did I just lose out on that? I checked my transactions. No, they took it. They changed it. I made it by like 5 seconds. 5 seconds on a refresh. From 100 to 25-1, but I just couldn't believe it. And now, as you can see here, he's down to 18-1. So the 25-1 happened when I made the bet. That was about an hour ago, I would say, maybe even an hour and a half ago, something like that. It was basically about shortly after the race, the O'Reilly race. And then it went down to 20. Then it went down to 18-1 before I came on the air. Well, the first time at 8:30. Yeah, we tried that for about 5 minutes, and that's now gone. I've deleted the broadcast, and it'll never be seen again. So, yeah, wow. And then a lot of other strange things happened. I mean, look, you understood some of the movements. Like Joey Logano was also 100-1. And he went from 100-1. I think this was like, he stayed at 100-1 for a good time. And I don't think he changed until like last half hour. He went down to 50-1. So that Bell, he went up from 14-1 to 16-1. I'm just going over just the ones that moved a lot in the last hour. Shane went from minus 135 to 150. Let's see the contenders odds. Okay. AJ went from like 33 to 45-1. Byron went from 33 to 40-1. Buescher went from 25 to 30-1. Reddick 12 to 14. Suarez went from 50 to 80. Larson went from 33 to 40. And Bowman 80 to 100. So that's all the changes that happened just like in a half-hour time period, which was really crazy. So, yeah. Wow. Crazy. And it does not normally happen like this. I think the reason it happened is because it's SVG is such a heavy favorite. So there's really going to be there's so much money on one driver that anything that goes on these other guys, it's like big movement. They're all long shots basically. And so that's what's going on. That's the only thing I could think of, and it doesn't happen very often. Okay. So what else did we find out today? Well, what we talked about the other day, and remember this is also important. SVG is sitting there on the pole. Let's put that back, which is a scary situation for the rest of the drivers. But history says the pole is not necessarily a good thing at Watkins Glen. There's only been one pole sitter to win at Watkins Glen since 2009. The other positions, second, and SVG was third in 2024 when Buescher stole the race from him because of a few mileage win. He was 24th qualified in that race. So it really should be 2-3-2-2. And here's the other thing. If you take a look at the practice speeds of the winners, so let's go practice speed qualifying. So qualifying practice. Qualifying second, practice sixth. Qualifying second, practice third. Qualifying second, the fastest in practice. And SVG in the 24 race, he was third fastest in qualifying and fourth fastest in practice. So really, that's what we're going on. That's what we were thinking about when we talked about it on Wednesday. And there's only one driver that fits that, and it's not SVG. Now, I don't think that this is the trend will continue. I still think SVG is going to win. But there's only one driver that fits that trend, and that's Austin Cindric, because he was third in qualifying and first in practice. Nobody else comes close to that type of winning trend. And there's only 3 drivers that qualified and practiced in the top 10 today. Only 3. It's very surprising. Now, maybe it had to do with the fact that they did run, and I have to remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but they did run a full, look, there were no groups in practice. So they just ran, and there was no second, there wasn't like a qualifying second top 10. It's just, we're running whatever it was, half hour in practice and a half hour in qualifying, and whoever fastest, and that's it. And again, that's because of the rain. So maybe that has something to do with some of the differences, which I'm willing to accept, which is why, of course, SVG is still by far the driver of the beat. So the other 2 drivers besides Cindric, top 10s today, both sessions, Christopher Bell and Ty Gibbs. But the problem is they're both Toyotas. And if you take a look at history, next gen, Watkins Glen, Toyota, not good. Not good at all. Now, Chevy has really been the dominating manufacturer here for next gen, and even before that, a few years. Matter of fact, they've won 6 of the last 7 races at Watkins Glen. Buescher stole the win in 2024 with a Ford, but still, he stole the race. And if you take a look at qualifying and practice and results, next gen, Chevy has been the dominant manufacturer, but Ford has been a pretty decent second. They've held their own for a second best manufacturer here. Toyota is the one that had like one good session. So you basically look at it. There have been, coming into today, there have been 8 sessions. Okay, 4 years, 2 each. So out of the 8 sessions, Toyota had like one good session. That's it. And I think it was practice, maybe. I don't know if I have it here. Let's see. Where do I have it? Oh, yeah. Watkins Glen, all the way down there. Okay. So if you look at Toyota, the only time that Toyota had a good session was 2023. Actually, you know what? They had 2 good sessions that in 2023. That was the only year that they actually showed something. They had 4 of the top 8 in qualifying, including Denny Hamlin on the pole. Remember, we just mentioned that. And in the race, they had 5 of the top 8, including 2 of the top 3. Okay, but they still only led 3 laps in the race. So that was their best weekend or their best day. Yeah, their best weekend in next gen, and they led 3 laps in the race. Okay, so Chevy has had really good qualifying and practice sessions all 4 years. Ford, for the most part, has done well. So when you take a look at what's going on here today, you have Chevy once again as the top manufacturer. They've qualifying for the top 5 in the poll, practice for the top 8. And once again, Ford was second, even though it was a little bit tighter with Toyota. It wasn't like Ford was a clear second, but they were a second. They had 3 of the top 7 and 2 of the top 5, plus the fastest driver, Austin Cindric, in practice. Toyota did not have a top qualifier until the 8th spot, and they actually ended up 8, 9, and 10. And they had 2 of the top 4 in practice. Where's practice again? 2 of the top 4 in practice, but you have to still go all the way down to 9 before you get to Reddick for the next driver. So just keep that in mind when you're wagering on Toyotas today, which is why, you know what? Let's pop up the odds. Which is why, well, we're looking at, of course, the top 10 odds, which is very important because you want to be in the top 10 to win this race. So we're really, what are we looking at? We're looking at Bell, Briscoe, and Gibbs. And in that situation with these odds, I'm not even interested in Briscoe, even though I'm getting 33 to 1. Look, it's tough to judge Briscoe and Chastain in practice because they had flat tires. So it's a little bit tough to judge them for that. But yeah, Briscoe, I out of these Toyotas, to me, the clear pick is Bell. Yes, you know, the odds say that should be the case. But look, Christopher Bell was 10 to 1 on Wednesday, and yet he's 16 to 1 here. And I don't understand that. We just talked about it. He's one of 3 drivers that had top 10s in both sessions today. So he actually had a pretty decent day. Did he qualify in the top 5? No. Or in the top 3? No. But that's it. He's qualified 8th, and you're going to move him from 10 to 16 to 1. Well, I'll take that. And I'll give you some more reasons to take that too when we go over the fantasy part of it. Okay. Andrew wanted to add this to the show. Okay. And who did it almost paid off for, Andrew? Because I know Zilich was the dominating driver for most of the race from what I saw. And I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't even watch much of it, but I was keeping tabs on it. And matter of fact, I think he was like a really heavy favorite at some point, like monster favorite. So anyway, let's go ahead and break it down now. Driver, we'll go through the drivers now regarding the trends that you need to keep an eye on. Okay, so let's go ahead and look. We don't need to talk about SVG. I did say this the other day, and I always say this when it comes to short prices, especially with SVG on road courses. And you're in a look, minus 150. It's still not great. And look, if you have a decent amount of money, I'm talking about a few $100, and that's what you wager on every week in NASCAR, then by all means, you can afford the minus 150. Yeah, it makes sense because, hey, you're going to win, right? So look, it's pretty expensive. You know, you're giving up, like, if it's $100, you're giving up an extra $50. But it's worth it. This is the, few times of the year that it's worth it. I mean, look, again, there are only two things of concern, and they're very small. One is that he did not practice in the top 10. Did that mean anything? I don't think so. And two, you have to consider he did not dominate the first road course race of the season after dominating most of them last year. As soon as he got the win, he rolled off the other wins at every road course, and you knew he was going to win every race. And so you start a new year, a fresh new year. It's the first road course race of the season. Everybody gets an opportunity over the months off, to try and figure out how we can get better on the road courses. And lo and behold, Tyler Reddick comes out on the pole and dominates and wins. But SVG still was there. It wasn't like he was like 10th and out of it. It was like it took a dominating performance from someone who was red hot like Tyler Reddick to knock him off. This is what I'm nitpicking, though. I know it's probably that information says still, everything's positive about SVG, and I should be nitpicking SVG here. The point is, well, that's the point of it. But that's why it's hard to do that. But that's it. That's all you got to go on but look, you could say, well, hey, look, Austin Cindric looks pretty good, but hey, look, he did not qualify. If I'm Austin Cindric, I'd rather qualify first and practice third. All right, because he's going to be starting behind SVG. I mean, he's got to pass him. Okay. And I don't know if it's going to happen on the course. So it might have to happen in another way. But he would be the only one where I could see ourselves next week on the show on Tuesday. If Austin Cindric wins, or if Shane doesn't win, that's the only thing I could see us talking about, right? And like, if a driver dominates, say if it's, oh no, it was Reddick beat him this time and another driver beat him this time, then you would have to think it would be Cindric because of how fast he looked today. And then it would make a little bit of sense. But again, I just think we're grasping for straws here. Okay. Next up, Zilic. And we talked a lot about this. Enough. Sort of like what we were doing when we were talking about Shane for the year before and then last year up until his win, because his odds were very low and it was every single race he was in. No way we're betting him. It's not going to happen. We're gonna wait until he beats us, and because it's only going to take one. Because there was no value whatsoever on a driver, especially early on in his career, never won a cup race before in his career, and I'm gonna give whatever. The odds are pretty similar to what they are now: 2-1, 3-1, plus 150. No way, you beat me, you beat me. And yet it's still, how many races did it take? Whatever, 4 or 5 races. I forget what it was, something like that. So we came out ahead. We lost one race. And as soon as we lost that first race, then it was all Shane. And then we won all of the races last year. And yet we lost the first race this year. So again, we've lost another race, but we're up still. So we're still up. And we have a lot of wiggle room too. And that's why, hey, you know what? It's only one race. We're going right back at him. We got him at plus whatever it was, 125 on Wednesday. So we're in a better situation there than minus 150. Here's another thing you can do. All right. And this is what we always talk about when you got a short price driver. Take a look at other sporting events going on, because I've already done it. I did it with golf this weekend, where I took Shane and I parlayed him with 4 or 5 other golfers that I liked that had shorter prices. And I don't want to put any, and I did it over the weekend too, after the event started. And so I was able to go in and take a few of the golfers that I didn't already put money on. And I, you know what? Hey, sure. They look good. They got off to a good start. It's not a come from behind event. It's a tough golf course. And so I know there's a limited number of players that can win now. I'm going to match him up with Shane. I don't have to put a lot of money on it. And so all of a sudden you go from thinking about, again, minus 150, putting up 15 to win 10. I can now parlay SVG with a player that's like 4-1. And a couple of days ago, they were like 10-1. And so all of a sudden, it makes it a much better situation. And I was still getting about plus 125 at the time. I'm still going to parlay him today, as soon as I get done with the show, but I'm going to do it a little bit bigger because I'm going to add in a couple of, again, this is a little doing some extra, but I'm going to probably do Minnesota in hockey because they're down 2-0 to Colorado. I have Colorado already to win the championship in a parlay with Oklahoma City. So that is another thing I did. I had two favorites. Oklahoma City was minus 125 to win the NBA championship before the playoffs began. And I felt Colorado was going to win the cup, and their price was about 3 or 4-1. So I just put them together. And I also put a few bucks on Minnesota to win the cup at 40-1 when the playoffs started. I have no idea why they were 40-1. Anyway, I think whoever wins this series is going to win the cup. That's what I felt when the series began. So even though Colorado's up 2-0, win both games at home, I feel Minnesota's got to be good for a game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Minnesota and I'm going to put the Knicks, who should sweep the Sixers, put them together with SVG, and I'm going to put them together with a couple of the golfers I haven't picked yet for tomorrow because I already have like a number of players already set. That's my strategy. I'm basically just giving you my strategy of what I try to do in order to make some money off of a pick that is so strong like this. Because I don't want to put up minus 150 on a straight bet. I just don't want to do it. But I'll parlay it, and I'll probably not only just do some 4-team parlays, but I'll also just go back to doing maybe a couple of just 2. SVG, and then find someone else out there. Who knows? Maybe I'll take a look at next week with the PGA Championship or something else entirely. All right. Anyway, so Connor Zilic. Again, getting back to Connor, and the point I'm making is we have to treat Connor now the same way that we treated Shane. There's just no way we're touching Connor at these prices. It's just ridiculous. Connor is looking exactly in a way the way Shane looked when he began. And yet Connor is racing every week. Remember, Shane that first year wasn't racing every week. So, but Connor hasn't shown anything. He didn't show nothing at Texas either. O'Reilly Series is one thing. The Cup Series is completely different, as we know. So, yeah, same thing. If Connor Zilic is going to beat us on a road course, then beat us. But I just have a hard time believing that he's going to do it fast affect us. So I still think we're going to be in a good situation where it's going to take Connor, who knows, 3 races, 5 races, 7 road course races, of course, to finally win and break through. I think that's what's going to happen. That's what I'm betting on. And then when he beats us, then we'll turn the table. And then it'll be a lot more difficult because as soon as Connor wins a cup race, then we've got some problems because then we're going to have Connor and SVG with low numbers. And that's not going to be good. So we have to take advantage as much as we can here. Okay, let's go through the rest. So let's who's on this list? Okay, so let's go on the ones on the list here first. So let's talk about Bell. Bell is also an excellent fantasy driver. His average starting position is 15.6, and this is over 5 races. And so where is he? There's 16-1 right now, and he's starting 8th. So he's in a much better starting position, and his average finish position is 6.8. It's sort of similar in a way that we talked about Chase last week. Remember, we were like, Chase, his average starting position is here. He's now a couple spots better than that, and his average finish was like 8 better. So that puts him like in the win. And if he does exactly that, if he follows through with that average, and that's exactly what he did. And he won, and we took advantage of it. Well, I don't know if Bell can do that with SVG out there, but if anybody can and you get good odds, then that's the driver I want. Again, it's a Toyota that's I'm not exactly happy about that. But look, it is what it is. With the Toyota, that's what he's done at Watkins Glen. And that's why I think he's an excellent value, both in fantasy and you're getting 16 to 1. Okay. Then you got who else here on this list? Who else? Oh, Briscoe, another Toyota. Now, I'm going to stay away from Briscoe, but the good news is you're getting 33 to 1. And his average start prior to Joe Gibbs was 19.7. His average finish was 18.7. So pre-Joe Gibbs, none. Last year, Joe Gibbs started third, finished fifth. Very good. Starting ninth, not as good. And again, we don't know really what happened in practice. Flat tire thing, probably the biggest reason he was slow. But at least you're now getting 33 to 1. It's not a terrible idea. It's just that he's driving a Toyota. And we can't be going after all these Toyotas at this track. We just can't do it. So we got to pick one. And that's why I'm going with Bell. But hey, you are getting 33 to 1 on Briscoe. He's a much bigger number, and he's not the worst long shot option. That's for sure. And then you got another Toyota, which is Gibbs. And Gibbs, now this is the good thing about Gibbs, because he's raced here in the next gen, so all four. So when he qualified in the top 10, which he did once, he finished fifth. When he did not, he qualified 14th, 15th, 16th. He finished 22nd, 26th, and 33rd. But he's qualifying 10th. So it's somewhere in between, actually. So he's fourth to Texas. He's having a really good year. So again, I think he's never a lot of lap here, though. And he's done well enough. Even last year, he was doing pretty well on the road courses. He was actually doing better on the road courses in general than any other type of track. But I still think it's asking a lot. And again, I'm not taking a bunch of Toyotas, but the good part is he's 28 to 1. So if you want to dabble in a couple of long shots, I got no problem with you looking at Briscoe and Gibbs. I would do that too. But Bell still, to me, is the top driver. Okay, out of the Toyotas. All right, also in this group, McDowell. Okay, so McDowell is a great option here. So if you look at his next gen average starting position before this race was 5.5. And that's with 2 top 10 finishes, 38 laps led. Matter of fact, he's led 7 or more laps in 3 or 4 races at Watkins Glen. Now, unfortunately, last year with the new team, with a Chevy, with his new car, he finished 19th after starting 6th. It did not lead a lap. So he actually did better with the Fords than he did last year with the Chevy. But still, he's a good road course driver. He was 5th at Texas. He had a really good day today, 12th in practice, and you're getting a decent number. See, I'd rather take McDowell at 20 to 1 than Briscoe and Gibbs. So, because they're all in the same area at that 20 to 1 number. Okay, next up. Who else is here that we didn't? Oh, Chastain. All right. So, but that was my official long shot on Wednesday. And of course, I still like him. He's there starting 4th. He only has 1 top 5 here in 7 races. But in his last 2 races, he's finished 10th and 4th. He started from the 4th position last year and the pole before that. And he led 51 laps. So Chastain, who should have been coming off of back-to-back top 10s, he's not had a good year. But I feel like this is the perfect time to now take him as a long shot, because you can see he is getting better. He had the top 10, followed by what would have been another top 10 had he not done a stupid thing and sped on pit road in the last pit stop, and that ruined him. So he should have had 2 top 10s, back-to-back coming in, and now he's coming to a track where he's had back-to-back top 10s, and he's starting 4th, and you're getting 28 to 1. Ryan Blaney, who's also on this page. So Blaney, the good thing with Blaney is he's coming off an 8th at Texas, and he led 11 laps, which was the 2nd most laps led to Tyler Reddick's. Then we take a look at what happened in this race last year when he was on the pole. Remember, he led the first 35 laps, I think it was, and he admitted he wasn't beating Shane Van Gisbergen, but it was great that they were going to have an opportunity. That's why he stayed out that first time. He just wanted to just see what he could do and put himself in a position. And look, he was very satisfied because he had the opportunity and he stuck to it. He led those laps. He did not have Shane pass him, and that was comforting, at least early. And then they tried a little bit of a, hey, we're going to keep going. And because again, they knew they had to do something a little bit different, even though they were looking pretty good early. I didn't agree with the call. I thought, hey, look, you're pretty fast here. You're leading all these laps. Just stick with it. Pit early before the stage. Just go, let Shane pit with you and test it out. But they had a different way to go about doing it. But he still finished sixth. He does have 4 top 10s at Watkins Glen in 9 races. And so I think there's a lot to like about Blaney as a long shot. And the fact that he's starting 7th is another good sign at 30-1. Okay. Also in this group, we have Logano. And Logano, again, went from 100 down to 50. He won this race in 2015. He's only led 41 laps in 16 races, so that's not all that great. And he has 1 top 5 in his last 8 races. So, yeah, and Logano has not had a good start to the season either. There's a lot of other long shots that definitely, we went over them. Gibbs, Briscoe, even though it's not as big as Logano still. I mean, you're only getting an additional 12 points from Briscoe. I'd much rather have Briscoe. Okay. And I think that's it for this. Cindric. So, yeah, you know what? There's not a whole lot to talk about Cindric as far as what we haven't already told you. Look, but these are at least good signs. Okay. Cindric's average starting position here is 10.8. And now he's starting 3rd. His average finish is 13.8. So it's really not that bad. He's been okay here. It just hasn't led any laps. He hasn't had any top 10 finishes. But he's kind of on the cusp. And now he's clearly setting his car up the best he's ever had it at this track. And we went over, of course, his history overall. Again, the O'Reilly history says he can do it here. He's won at Watkins Glen before. He's won at Indianapolis. He's a very good road course driver in the O'Reilly series. And he does have 7 career top 10s and 3 career top 5s in the Cup series as well. Okay, now let's move on to the contenders. All right, and out of this group, let's go back. Okay, Reddick. So Reddick will be starting 15th. And again, that's disappointing because he's not going to get out of the gate like he did in Texas. So I think it's asking just way too much. And it's like wherever his average is, wherever he starts these races, he finishes. So I'm looking at, I think a really good day for Reddick would be somewhere like 8th, 7th, something like that. Something right outside the top 5. I think that's the best we can probably hope for. But then again, he's had such a charmed season so far. You never know. He does have 4 career top 10s out of 5 races. And again, that average obviously goes up, which is why you really have to take a look at these things. Sometimes the average can be skewed by one really bad race. But anyway, look, Reddick knows what he's doing on a road course. He proved it in Texas, and he's been okay here. I just don't like the day he got off to today, and he's driving a Toyota. So again, I expect him to have a decent day. A decent day tomorrow. The problem is, again, I don't think you get anything great here at 14-1. Plus in fantasy, you're not going to get anything great there either. Okay, moving on. William Byron. Byron does have the win in 2023 when he led 66 laps for the win. But really, if you look at it, Byron, Elliott, and Larson, the Hendrick drivers, just have not done well here during next gen. Look at Elliott. Elliott in the next gen, his last 3 races, just the last 3, his average started at 16.3, and now he's starting 27th. But his average finish is 25.6, so he's losing 9 spots. So this is a bad sign. He hasn't led a lap in his last 3 races, And the only hope I had, the reason why I gambled on it was I expected him to qualify decently, or at least that was the hope, that he would qualify well. If he did, I'd be in a great position. Opposite happened. So yeah, because if you look at it, the previous 4 races before the 3 I mentioned, his average starting position was 4.0. His average finish was 2.0, leading 161 combined laps. Yeah, it's not looking good for the Hendrick drivers. And then you take a look at Kyle Larson, and he's just out of it right now. Larson, who had back-to-back wins here pre-next gen, but average starting position in the last 3 is 17th. Average finish is 25th. So just like Elliott, last 3 years, nothing. And Elliott in the last 3 years had that 1 win, but that's it. But Byron actually has been the better driver based on the last 3 years. So if you're just looking at the last 3 years, Byron would be the driver you'd want to keep an eye on. And he's in a much better position starting 13th. So if you want to look for a Hendrick driver, take William Byron and forget about Larson and Elliott for the week. Chris Buescher is an excellent long shot play. Even though his number dropped to 30-1, good, fine. Great fantasy driver. Average starting position in next gen is 14th. Average finish in next gen is 5th. You're gaining 9 spots in next gen on Chris Buescher. He, of course, stole the win a couple of years ago. That helps. And all next gen finishes were in the top 10. All right. He had a 3rd place finish last year. He had the win in 2024, as we talked about. And he was terrible here pre-next gen. So Buescher, among other drivers, Chastain, they're out there who their careers are completely changed for the next gen car. And Chris Buescher is definitely one of them. And I love the fact that he's starting in the position he's starting in. I'm not going to benefit as much in fantasy if he's starting 5th. So he's starting in the same position he always starts in, 14th. That's his average position. All right. So perfect. Okay. Next up, AJ Allmendinger. And AJ's 45-1. He was 22-1 on Wednesday. And we know he's a good road course driver, but he's only led 2 laps in his last 7 races at Watkins Glen. He was 9th Texas, which is okay. And in the 4 races at Next Gen here, he does have 2 top 5s. Those were 2022 and 2023. The last 2 races, no top 10s, but he was 11th last year. So look, again, I'd much rather have AJ at 45-1 than Joey Logano. So there are some long shots out there that you could definitely pass on, but I think AJ is definitely one that you can at least consider. But overall, it's going to be hard for him because he's starting 12th and he's got good drivers ahead of him. The good thing is he did practice 7th. So he even though he's not one of those drivers who had top 10s in both sessions, he was like the next best. There were several drivers that were the next best thing, I guess you could put it. They would be SVG, McDowell, Blaney you could say Blaney was there. Hocevar, we'll get to him in a second. AJ, Byron. Yeah, those would be the guys. Those would be the drivers that were just outside that top 10 in both sessions. Okay, now speaking of, I don't need that one. Speaking of Hocevar, so he's been here twice. He had a really good day in his first year in 2024. He started 29th and finished 3rd. That's a huge fantasy driver. Last year, though, very disappointing. Started 8th, finished 18th. So it's like it's like weird. It's like the opposite happens when he qualifies. Now he's qualified 11th, which is actually closer to last year. But look, he's got a top 5 here. He is coming off a big win, finally, cup win a couple of weeks ago. He's in a nice zone. He's sitting there at a big number at 50-1. Definitely a good long shot play, no doubt about it. And he's driving a Chevy. All right, Kyle Busch got off to a good start, not a good qualifying run. So that's disappointing. 21st. He was 18-1 to win this race last year. 18-1. He's 100-1. Wow. And we thought last year was a bad year for Kyle. he has not done well here in next gen overall. So yeah, he was a really good driver here, pre next gen. Just hasn't had it at all lately. Okay, so the rest of the drivers on this list, a couple others we want to note. Let's see. I would say Bowman would have been somebody I would have considered, but not starting 28th, unfortunately. So that's bad, because we were holding out hope. Suarez, though, he's somebody that I again, if you're looking for a long shot, somebody that could finish in the top 5, keep an eye on him because he's a big number. He does have 3 top 5s in 8 career races at this track. So it's not the worst idea in the world for a top 5 type of situation. And then you've got Wallace. We really thought that Wallace could, again, CJ took him as his long shot on Wednesday, but very disappointing starting position and even worse in practice. Because if you look at it, he was 8th last year here when he started 15th, and he's coming off an 11th at Texas. And you could see that there was something there with Bubba. And that's especially Texas, because he's never really been a good road course driver, but he did not carry it over. So, and he's driving a Toyota. Zane Smith, he's not on this list. I'll hold Zane Smith for the fantasy, actually. And I think we've been over everybody here. Okay, let's go to fantasy. So let's pop out our fantasy board here. All right. And let's go ahead and start. You know what? I've got to put Shane in here. So let's go ahead and go all the way down to our bargain drivers, as usual. All right, here's Zane Smith. So we're definitely playing Zane. All right, so the reason we're playing Zane is pretty simple. He has been here twice in the Cup. His average starting position is 26th. His average finish, 11th. So he has improved 15 spots on average in his 2 races here at Watkins Glen. So he was, and so I love the fact that he's 33rd starting position. So he is a definite take. All right. So now I got to take a look at some of these drivers. See, Cindric is in, I got to take Cindric. All right. That's easy too. I know I'm not, look, do I need him to win? Not necessarily. As long as he finishes in the top 3, maybe he can lead a few laps. That's fine. And I got to gamble that way. I have to because of the price. Okay. Who else looks like a good bargain number here? Hocevar 7,400 is not bad. And he's 11th. Chastain, the 4th, kind of is a bummer. But let's see. Yeah, where is Blaney's not even that bad, to tell you the truth. But let's see. McDowell, 8,000. Second position. That's and plus McDowell has a history of qualifying well on road courses and not finishing well. He does lead laps. But if Shane was 4th, I think McDowell may not be a bad play. Maybe he could lead some laps early, but I don't know if he'd be able to do that. He's going to have to beat him at the start. I mean, that'd be a gamble. Is there, could he beat him at the start? Probably not. More than likely not. But if he does, maybe he pulls a Ryan Blaney and leads 30 laps to start the race. So it's under consideration. Let's see. I need to save every bit of money that I can because I've got Shane here. So I got 23 remaining. So let's just go with some of these other drivers that have a pulse at least, because none of them really do. Again, Wallace, he is starting 18th, but the Toyota thing is, and he's not far back enough, 18th. So the only good thing is he's 6,500. So that's what I'm looking at. Let's see what we have here. So if we go Hocevar, what do we have left? 15,000. What happens if we have Chastain? 8,000. Okay. So we can do this. Ooh, we just met. Oh, we got McDowell. So this is how we'd have to go. Maybe if we take Shane and to just destroy our salary cap. So we've got Shane at the front, and then we've got all the long shots here. We only have one driver, though, that could gobble up a bunch of spots. But this is a road course, and you're just hoping that a lot of these drivers can finish where they start. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody else. I mean, Busher. Oh, that's right. I want to play Busher. Man, I want to play Busher. See, I don't think I could play Busher. Who'd I have to knock out? I have to knock out one of the more expensive ones. All right, let's say McDowell does not beat him at the point. If I can't take Busher yet. So let me take, let's see, it would be Chastain or Hocevar. And yeah, I think I'm still gonna side with my pick from earlier this week with Chastain. So let's go ahead and do that and knock out Hocevar. And then let's put in Busher and see how much we have left. 6,700. There's Priest, who's at 30th. And I know one of our viewers likes Ryan Priest before today. But unfortunately, Ryan Priest did not have a good day. 30th and 28th. But he is starting way back. And you'd like to be able to take advantage of it. But there's nothing on Ryan Priest's resume that, I mean, I don't know. I hand it to one of our viewers for liking Priest. I don't know why he liked Priest, but he would be an option because I don't have many left. So I'd have to take Priest there. So maybe that's, we get Shane. We get the hottest driver today. We get the best fantasy driver. And Zane Smith is the other best fan. So I got the best two fantasy drivers, Zane Smith and Chris Buescher. I know it's a small sample size, just a few years, but it is what it is. We get the best driver. We get the hottest driver today. And then these are the two that we have to go with. Again, Chastain's got back-to-back really good races here. He's starting fourth for a reason. And Priest is... The good news about Priest is, look, he's teammates with Buescher. So maybe there's something there. Because Kozlowski is not good at all on road courses. And unfortunately, none of these other drivers down here do anything on road courses or at Watkins Glen. Just nothing. So we're going to start with that. Let's go ahead and plug that in there. Oh, not this idiotic thing again. I hate this thing. Anyway, I'll move that out. We'll wrap up. I'll put that in. It's so annoying. I talked about this, I think, when I was doing the golf show earlier this week. I had the same thing happen. And then I had to go in and I had to change it because apparently because of course every platform I go on, I'm not telling anybody where I live, my location. So I went back in and I realized I didn't do that for DraftKings. So I went ahead and I gave them the opportunity so they could know my location, and I changed it, and it was set, and everything worked. And now they're doing this again. And what I said on the show, on the golf show, is the same thing that I'll say here. And that is that for a company that makes as much money as they do, their website is a piece of trash. And they should be fucking embarrassed. Absolutely embarrassed. It's just terrible. I mean, you would think it would be the easiest to navigate and to not need customer service, because they got to be like at the top level of revenue for programs out there, websites, businesses. I mean, they got all the money and they can't come up with the best possible website to navigate. And so there's very little problems like this. Yeah. So, I mean, if I had another option out there to go to, like if there was like 15 options out there to do, but it's like the easiest one, so I do it. But trust me, man, if I had other options, I'd be right out the door. I'd be like, I'm not dealing with your shit. Okay. Anyway, Hopefully, you've got enough info there for your fantasy, and hopefully, we'll get lucky tomorrow, and we'll make some cash, and we'll have some fun. Thanks a lot for checking in with us once again. And if you want to continue to get some really good NASCAR fantasy information, as well as for the entire season, race by race, with the odds and everything else, then hit that subscribe button. And that's the best way to follow us all season long. Thanks again for checking us out. I'll see everybody again on Tuesday afternoon, previewing the Coke 600 with CJ Radoon before he goes on vacation. And we'll also take a look at the Indy 500. So a whole week in advance, we'll be taking a look at the two big races because we will not be on the air that week after that. So anyway, I might figure out something because especially if we don't have any odds for the two big races, I might just, I don't know, it's possible. Because again, I will be on the air that Saturday as always. I won't be on the air for All-Star Week on this show, on this Saturday edition. But I will be back, of course, on the Saturday of the Coke 600 and the night before the Indy 500. So we'll make up for lost time there, I guess. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, let us know. Best of luck, everybody. And we'll see you again on Tuesday.